Hello and welcome to Laserfiche Windows Client 11 training by CDI. This video will introduce the basic concepts and features of the Laserfiche Windows client application. Laserfiche provides a secure repository where you can store and find important business documents. You can browse content in Laserfiche repositories using the folder structure or utilize basic or advanced search options in the application. Laserfiche provides secure access to stored content. Each user can customize their preferences. Basic or advanced search options are available in the application. Importing or scanning documents into Laserfiche is simple and easy. With the Microsoft Office plugin, you can import and manage Microsoft Office documents using Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or Outlook. And any content can be emailed, printed, or downloaded from Laserfiche at any time. Our agenda, therefore, is to launch and log into Laserfiche. We'll learn to navigate Laserfiche and customize the application. We'll take a look at some basic Laserfiche actions, launch the Laserfiche document viewer. We'll do some scanning and importing of content into Laserfiche. We'll learn a little bit about the Microsoft Office add-in. We'll run some searches using the Laserfiche search options, and we'll do some printing, emailing, and exporting of documents as well. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, having launched our Laserfiche client, we can go ahead and log in. You do have an option to use Windows authentication or Laserfiche authentication. And if you're lucky enough to have single sign-on from Laserfiche Directory Server Services, fantastic, go ahead and use that. You will see a different looking login than I have currently. However, we'll go ahead and use our Laserfiche login for demonstration purposes. And you're brought to the application. Up at the top, we have our File menu. We have different options. Click on the File menu, click on File. You can choose to create new folders, import or download content, print content, run the Laserfiche scan module, sign out, or exit the application altogether. Sometimes you'll need to change settings, and you'll go to Tools, Options. If you're a Laserfiche administrator, you might see the administration console available, although most users will not see that. Down below that, we have the toolbar. The toolbar icons, roll your cursor over any one of those icons, and it will show you what it does. This toolbar can be customized. Each user can customize their settings as they see fit. Simply right-click on the toolbar, click Customize. And at this point, with the Customize pop-up, you can rearrange any icons on the toolbar, or by choosing Commands, you can add any additional icons that you see fit from this list of common Laserfiche tasks and activities. They are organized with categories on the left-hand side there, and then choose your options by clicking and dragging option. For example, maybe we want to add the up one level toolbar icon, add that to the toolbar, put it wherever you want on that toolbar, and when you are done, click Close, and now that icon is available to you at all times. Again, this will be for each user, so customization by a user will not affect anybody else but themselves. Below the toolbar is the location bar. This will show you any of the folders that you are currently in, or with the drop-down, it will give you a list of your 9 most recently visited folder locations. And you can then click on a choice there, and it'll take you to that folder immediately. And you can toggle back and forth very quickly through that list. Again, this is customized to you as an end user, and other users will see a completely different list of visited locations. On the far right, on the same line, we have the quick search. Go ahead and type in a phrase or a value into the quick search, and then you can hit enter to search the entire repository for content that matches. Just on the right-hand side of that magnifying glass, you can do some basic customizations, I should say, on the quick search. You can tell the system to search all documents for text that matches what you have typed into the box, and also search fields. This will tell you what matches as far as field values go to what you've typed into that box. You can also do entry names and search annotations searching as well, and you can limit the search to within the current folder and limit your searches to that folder and all subfolders. All right, so that's the quick search. Now below that we have our folder pane on the left-hand side, excuse me, and on the right-hand side is the contents pane. You can rearrange the folder pane clicking and dragging. If you do happen to close the folder pane, you can click the folder pane icon on the toolbar and that will bring it back. On the contents pane, you notice across the top we have various columns, and these can be customized. You can also use them to sort by the information displayed in those columns. Clicking on, for example, the creation date column will resort those documents ascending, and clicking again will sort descending. By default, Laserfiche sorts documents and folders alphabetically, folders first, but you can change your options as you see fit. Down below, we have a status bar at the very bottom of the screen. Bottom right corner will show us who we are logged in as, and if our numlock key is on, that will be displayed. And if your caps lock key is on, that will be displayed as well. Down on the bottom left corner, we have an entry count. This will show us the numbers of folders and documents in that particular folder that we are in. So we can see we have 5 documents and 1 folder, and therefore we see that it says 6 entries in the list. Navigating through our folders, we can expand any folder. If there are subfolders, they will be displayed in the folder pane icon as icons. And if you expand that and there's nothing else in there, it will just display a blank plus symbol. The minus sign will collapse that column. And that will be your folder pane navigation. There is also the recycle bin at the bottom. This will display any content that you might have deleted. And this will be your content, nobody else's. And if you do have content in here, you can restore it back to Laserfiche into the repository, or you can let it automatically purge, or if you actually have rights to, you can purge that entry completely if that is available to you. You can also search within the recycle bin as well. Notice that the search icon up there in the top left corner on the toolbar has a little bit of a different looking search icon as opposed to when you're running searches from the repository itself. Next, let's take a look at some basic Laserfiche navigation actions. Within the repository, you can move documents or folders between folders, just like you can in Windows. For example, click and drag, and you can move content between folders. You can rename folders, delete folders or content, and do other actions as well. Notice I've just right-clicked on a folder and it gives us some options. We can open the folder, we can apply metadata to a folder or document, we can print that content, email a folder, obviously only to those who have Laserfiche and access to this repository. Normally we might email documents but not folders to outside consumers. We can cut, copy, and paste, delete, rename. There's an option called Add Star, which marks folders or documents with a star. In fact, if I want to add the star here, you'll notice that on the folder pane, just at the very top, just below the name of the repository, it gives you a starred entries list, which now you can see gives us this quickly accessible folder. Instead of having to navigate down through a deep folder structure, you might come here at the beginning of your day to find documents or folders that you will be using quite frequently. If you no longer need that, you can right-click and choose to remove star. Laserfiche does give us some alternative ways to take the same action. You might highlight that folder and then click on Tasks, Remove Star. Same thing, different way of doing things. Within the Tasks options, you can do different functionality, apply or view tags or field values, what they call metadata. You can do other things like generating reports, possibly even generate audit reports if you do have audit trail, and various other functions. If you have documents that you want to, for example, Office documents or a Word, Excel, PowerPoint type document that you want to check out and edit locally while on a business trip, for example, you can do that by checking that document out to your local machine. and then check it back in when you return to the office with new edits. While the document is checked out, by the way, that will be read-only for those who are looking at it from another login, and will not be editable until the user does check that document back in. We'll show you an example of that in just a moment. As I mentioned, you can right-click on any of your content and you get various actions there. The toolbar will also provide functionality as well, and that's available in your application here. Moving documents between folders and folders between folders is much like Windows. You can rename a folder, simply click, and then rename that folder as well. If we want to take action on a document, we might want to maybe email that document or print it. You can choose those options from the pop-up when right-clicking, although those functions are also available in the toolbar as well. You might notice here we have a document, a Word document that is checked out currently. Anybody who checks out a document, they will have that on their machine locally. However, those other users who might want to look at that document, you can open it up in read-only mode until it is checked back in, and then the user can edit that file after it's been checked back in. Normally, checked out documents are relative to Office documents, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint. If we wanted to import a document, we can do that. You can drag and drop a document into Laserfiche. Notice it makes a copy of that document, and it will use the name of the document as it is on the original. You can rename it as you are importing it. The import dialog box will pop up, as we can see here, and it's just going to confirm the folder path as well. If that folder path is not correct, you can hit the Browse button and choose an alternate folder path, as we see here. Your volume will normally be just one, although you might have alternate volumes. This is, as far as Laserfiche is concerned, this is the back-end storage location for your actual files within the Laserfiche system. If you're not sure what the volume is, ask your IT staff or just leave it at the regular default setting. In our case, the volume name actually is default, but it might be something different, and there might only be one. The checkbox for generating searchable text, this is a great option. Laserfiche will generate searchable text from any imported document if it can do so. Most electronic documents will have searchable text already in it, and therefore that text will be searchable when you import the document into Laserfiche. We also have a Fields tab in which you can apply some information about this document to the document itself for searching later on down the road. This enables, one, the ability to search for documents, and two, it might even help with workflows that will automatically name and automatically file documents. If we click on the drop-down, we can choose from a whole host of templates. A template is really just a collection of similar or related fields, and this information will have not only the template name, but it will have the fields, as they call them, on a document, which can be searched for later on. As you can see, many of these fields have different types. We have text field, drop-down list fields, as we see here, date fields, and other kinds of fields as well, like numbers as well. Those fields can be set up to be required or not. As you can see, that just two fields on this template are required, but we can customize that to anything that you need. You might notice on the pop-up here, there's a help button. These will be available in most pop-ups, and you can learn more about how to take action within Laserfiche by clicking the help button. If we want to apply this template, we do have to enter required information on the document before we can click OK to bring that document in. I won't do that here, but as you can see, drag and drop is an option. And that will be obviously put into the folder that you had highlighted. The same thing goes if you were highlighting this incoming scans folder, for example, and then you were to click the File Import option. This will allow you to browse your computer for any content as well. And we can go find a document, select one or more. You can import one or more documents at the same time. I'll select one, click import, and as you can see, the import dialog box appears just like we saw previously. Go ahead and choose your information, assign a template and or fields. You can assign fields, by the way, individually without using a template. Simply click the Add Remove Fields, and this will give you a list of the available fields in your system, and you can assign them individually to a document or folder as well, if you are not going to use a template. All good stuff there. Rename your document as you see fit. At this point, if you're going to generate searchable text, go ahead and click OK. It will run at least with the Windows client here, it will run the Laserfiche OCR engine. The OCR engine stands for Optical Character Recognition, and that's what's generating the searchable text. Go ahead and click OK. You'll see a little pop-up that says processing, and this will go rather quickly. And now your document is imported. If you wanted to view the document, you can double-click on that. Name. Go ahead and bring up the document, and it will display the pages in thumbnails on the left-hand side, the image of page 1 in the middle, and if you click on the thumbnail for page 2, it'll navigate to that new page. You can also use the toolbar icons up at the top and navigate using those buttons. You may see on the right-hand side information as to the metadata and possibly even the searchable text of that document as well. By default, the text box is not normally visible, but up at the top you have some icons on the document viewer toolbar in which you can change the visible panes. So you can toggle the text pane on or off. Notice the icons have a little blue outline around it for those that are selected, and those that are not, you can just toggle it on or off by clicking once and then clicking again to toggle it back off. TIFF images, like the one we see here, not a PDF or Word documents, we can apply annotations to documents. For example, at the top, we can see some annotation icons on the toolbar. We can add redactions, for example. In other words, we can blank out parts of the screen. And if you right-click and choose Properties on that redaction, you can change the color to white versus black. And this is important if you're printing out this document. You can choose to print it out with or without the redaction. And if you do include the redaction, that portion will be white and then everything else will be visible. You can put highlights on documents. Click and drag from the top left to the bottom right, and you can right-click and choose Properties and change your highlight color as well. If you no longer need that highlight or annotation, you can delete that annotation. Those users who have the ability to delete and edit documents should be able to delete annotations. Sometimes users don't have rights to modify anything, and they'll just have to live with what they see there. However, they can choose normally to print with or without those annotations, even if they can't edit the annotations. All right, I'm going to delete the highlight, but that also is highlighting the text. I'll even show you what it's done. Laserfiche knows where on the page the text is, and therefore will redact or highlight the text, because if you wanted to, you can print the text of this document as well as the image. And if you have redacted the text or the document somewhere, you probably want to include redacted text and or highlights if so desired. With those changes, you can go ahead and close the document or hit the Save button up there in the top left corner. You also have your print icon and the scan icon. Now the scanner icon up there in the top left that I've got currently highlighted, if you hit the scan button while you have a document open, this means you intend to add more pages to the existing document. All right, so having said that, let's go ahead and remove one of our annotations. We'll click OK. Notice the redaction annotation disappeared from both the image and the text. We'll close the image pane, and now we'll hit Close. And now Laserfiche didn't ask me if I wanted to save those changes. Normally it does. In fact, under Tools Options, you might want to go and make sure that your setting for under Reset Prompts, make sure that everything is set, though, so that it does ask you if you want to move or delete or save changes, anything that you're doing in Laserfiche. If you want a confirmation, make sure that under your options, under reset prompts, your confirmations are checked. You also have an option to just reset everything that you might have hidden so that you're back to the way it was default the first time you used Laserfiche. More help is available by clicking the help button on the pop-up there, and we'll click OK. For example, if we go back into our document, we'll go ahead and put a highlight on there, and then if we click close, do we want to save the changes? And that option now will pop up and ask, and we'll say yes. Now before we do that, we'll go ahead and show you one other concept here with regards to documents. If they are TIFF images, as we see here, this would not work with a Word document or a PDF. We can rearrange pages within the document, and as you can see, I've got some issues here. Let me just open the document back up. All right, we'll click and drag and rearrange the page, and we want to move it within the page. We can do that. So these are TIFF documents, right? Scanned images, as we see here. What's really interesting is you can create a new document from existing pages. You can even copy pages and paste them into another document. So you can move pages around between documents if you so desire. And again, this would work with scanned images that have image pages. Laserfiche does call their documents most of the time anything that is scanned image in TIFF, T-I-F-F format, Laserfiche pages. Anything else will typically be a electronic document, for example, a Word document, and that icon will be a bit different than most of the other content. You'll have a PDF icon for those documents that are PDFs, etc. As you can see in our contents pane, we have some documents with a template assigned and some that are not assigned a template. The columns in our content pane also include page count, creation date, last modified date, which could be applicable to a folder. Folders, if they have new content added, that last modified date will change automatically. Laserfiche tracks the creation date and modification date without you having to do anything. These are very handy for searching for documents maybe that you imported last week, but you're not sure which ones. You could run a search that says, hey, find me all documents created between this date and this date. Again, documents can be assigned a template. You can do that either with a right click to choose the metadata pop-up, and we'll take a look and see if this document does already have a template, and it does. That template, again, we would assign metadata and then click OK. This information is definitely useful for searching for documents later on. This document, the new doc, does not have any template information at all. And if it needed it, you could just simply choose from the list of templates, assigned that particular template. Hopefully it doesn't have required fields. If it does, again, you can't click OK without assigning values in those fields. Some fields might have a token in them. You can see here in the document date, this one has a %date token in there. Guess what that does? It puts today's date in that field without you having to actually type a value in there. All right, so be aware of that. Now, we had talked about bringing documents into Laserfiche, and I wanted to continue that concept with a couple more options. For example, if we wanted to bring a document in that we were going to print normally and then maybe scan, well, we can actually print directly to Laserfiche. Laserfiche has an option that gets installed with the Windows client called Laserfiche's Snapshot Printer. I'll bring up a Word document, and we'll go ahead and print that document, choose from our print option, and in the drop-down of available printers, there is going to be a Laserfiche Snapshot option. Go ahead and choose that. You can set your print options just like any other document. And then when you hit print, you will get the Laserfiche Snapshot dialog box, which allows you to configure where the document is going, what the document name will be, and if you want to apply metadata, you can do that as well. As you can see here, it has popped up, and we could change the document name, and we'll give that a name there. The currently defaulted path is the incoming scans folder. However, you can change that path. The volume is preset as well, and if you would like to apply a template and or field values, you can do that here as well. Up at the top, there's some other tabs, including the Tags tab if you want to apply a metadata tag. We'll talk about that in a moment. And for documents that are being imported that already have that same name that you see in the document name, in the same folder in which it will be saved, then it's asking how do you want to handle that, and it'll create a new document, in this case adding a parentheses 2 around the end of the document name, just to keep it separate. If you want to generate text from the print job, you can do that as well so that it is text searchable. Some advanced settings allow you to save current profiles, as if, for example, if you wanted to save it as a color print as opposed to black and white, you can save different profiles as you do that. But the default settings are usually good enough. Click OK, and that document will now end up in the folder path that we designated. So now that that's been printed, if we go back to our incoming scans folder, we can see there's that new document. And it's a TIFF image, not a Word document. And we can see that there's the text from the document, as well as the image. That's Laserfiche Snapshot. Allows you to print directly to Laserfiche. Also, I mentioned it before, the scan option. We can scan directly into Laserfiche using Laserfiche's scan module. Go ahead and click on the scan option, which then allows you to choose your different scanning modes. If you have a document, just one to bring in, you can click on basic mode and go ahead and click OK. You should make sure that your scanner is powered on and the paper is ready to be pulled through the scanner feeder. Normally you'll want to make sure that your paper size is configured properly up there at the top left. As you can see, you have many different choices. Normally we're going to scan at letter. Depending on your scanner, you may have single or double-sided scanning available. We can scan double-sided depending on the scanner. And normally you'll scan in black and white, although you do have grayscale and color options available. However, black and white is the more efficient way to store content. You can give a document a default name if you want. You can even designate which folder path it will be scanned into. And the folder path that the scanning will drop into is the same folder that you had started in. So if you had highlighted that folder and then hit scanning, that is the path in which this scanned page or pages will end up in. Go ahead and hit the Start Scanning button, and that document will be pulled through from the scanner. You can hear it in the background, and that document, both pages, should be pulled through and then end up visible here in the scanning module. And once those pages are available, we'll then add it in there. As you can see, my scanner pulled the page in a slightly skewed manner. There are techniques in which we can enhance the document, make sure it doesn't pull through, and even straighten it out if we found it to be an issue. In fact, under the Enhancements tab there on Basic, we might want to make sure that the deskew image is set, and it was. And boy, it must have pulled through just a little poorly there. I must need to clean my pinch rollers. This is an indication that you have dirt on your rollers, and it just needs a bit of maintenance on your scanner. Go ahead and make sure that this document is looking good. Go ahead and change the template if you need to, or assign a template if none was assigned. And at this point, you're good to go, and you can just hit the Done button, store the document in Laserfiche. And in this case, with the basic scanning, it will store the document immediately in the system and close the scanning module. Very simple way to get documents scanned into Laserfiche. Now, you could choose the standard scanning, which gives you some more options, but we'll save that for a later day. All right, so we've talked about some different ways to get documents in. Now that they're in, we can move them around. As I mentioned, you can open up a document and move pages between documents or create new documents from pages. Did you know you can also combine two documents together? If they are TIFF image documents, we can combine them together. I'll do that right here. I'll take this 2-page document, drag it on top of the document 1 test document, and we'll add those pages after the last page. But as you can see here, we have different choices as to where we want to place the inserted pages. And then when we have a document without any pages left, we do get a pop-up that says all those pages have been removed. Do you wish to delete the containing document name? And we'll say yes. And now we have combined documents. Is that normal? I don't know. It's up to you. And you can set security so that this is not something that everybody can do. It just depends on how your system needs to be configured. All right. Now, I mentioned that we might deal with documents that come from Microsoft Office. For example, if we had that Word document open, Laserfiche, when you install the Windows client, also will install the Microsoft Office integration. And you'll know that it is installed when you see the Laserfiche tab in your Office applications. For example, in Word right here, we can see that there is a Laserfiche tab. And that shows us some options. We could save this document directly to Laserfiche. Now, we did print it earlier, but that's not a Word document. It's a TIFF image. But if we wanted to save this Word document while we're editing it to our Laserfiche repository, we would simply click on the Save to Laserfiche button. And because this document does not exist in Laserfiche already, nor did we open it from Laserfiche, we have the option to click on the New Document option and choose where in the repository it's going to be saved and what name, what metadata we want to assign, and all that content as well. So if we do that, we'll go ahead and click on that. It will ask us to sign in again normally, and typically you'll have the Windows authentication option available to you, which makes life really easy. You'll normally just click that option, click OK, and that will sign you in. Don't forget to click the Remember Login information as well. Now, you might even have a directory server, Laserfiche directory server login capability as well. But we'll go ahead and click OK, get ourselves logged in, and then that will give us access to the repository, and we can then browse for the correct folder in which to insert this document. Now, I've already got a document with the same name in there, so we'll call this Office, for lack of a better term, and then we can hit Save. That'll place it in that path. We could change the path as well if we wanted to. Go ahead and hit Save, which at this point will bring up the metadata dialog box, and we can assign a template if we need to, and any field values that will help us find this document later on. For example, we might add our general template, go ahead and choose a category, and we'll put in today's date. Go ahead and make sure that's working. And you can use the space bar to put today's date in that field. Now, you could use the date picker, and this is not that created or last modified date that Laserfiche is tracking. This would be a date relative to the document itself, for example. However, if it is appropriate, you could put today's date in there, and all you need to do is use the keyboard shortcut of the space bar. Now that you've filled out your required fields, go ahead and click OK, and that document is now imported into the repository. You'll notice the icons now change a little bit because it is in the repository. You can now do a checkout of the document so that you can edit it offline. You can even change metadata on the document as visible in Laserfiche. So that template and fields that we just assigned, we can change that right from within the document, and we don't have to leave Microsoft Word to do that. That's the Office integration in Microsoft Word, and how we get documents into Laserfiche from the Office integration for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. For emails, it's fairly easy as well. For example, we'll take a look at our email. For example, I have an email here with a couple attachments, and if you look at the Laserfiche Office integration tab for emails, it's a little different. Again, we can save the email directly to the repository. With the client open and navigating to a particular folder, it will show the current folder, and if you click on that icon, it will save this email with its attachments to that folder with the name of the email from the subject. If you want to, you can simply save the attachments and not worry about any of the other content and drop the email, just save the attachments into the repository as well. Also, with the Windows client, you can click and drag and import the attachments themselves by simply clicking and dragging, and then, as you remember previously, the import dialog box pops up, asks you how do you want to name the document and what folder you want to put it in, any fields or template information that you want to assign, you can do that as well. All right, so that's the integration with emails using the Microsoft Office integration. All right, so several different ways to get content into Laserfiche. Once that content is in Laserfiche, you can email, print, or download that content. If you want to, you can change TIFF images into PDFs. For example, if you go into Tools, Options, we go to our download options here, and we can set for any image files our default settings to download as PDFs, which I've done here. You can download in other formats, but I do recommend that if you do typically do emailing or downloading or drag and drop exporting, that you choose both PDF options here at the top, as you see here. With those settings set, if you were to simply drag and drop a document to your desktop, it will export. You'll get a dialog box making a copy from Laserfiche outbound, and that document will then, if we move our, close that. I don't have a PDF icon for some reason, but notice it then generated a PDF document from the TIFF image. Now, if you were to download a Word document, it would stay Word. If you downloaded a PDF document that's already in your repository, it will stay as a PDF document. This is only for image files that are in Laserfiche. Does it convert to PDF? All right. You can also email the document. I typically will right-click and choose to email the document, and at that point, it will ask us some questions. Do we want to email all pages, or do you want to send just one page? For example, I want to send page 2 of this 3-page document. You can change the page range of what you are emailing. Now, Laserfiche does have the ability, because it is a PDF and you're emailing it, you can put a password on that emailed PDF. Go ahead and enter the password twice, and then click Create Email. That password will be applied to the PDF file that it will generate. This password is only available when emailing. You might have noticed that there was no password request upon simply dragging and dropping that document, which converted to PDF, but it never asked for a password. Go ahead and hit your Create Email. That will then generate an email from your Outlook, and there's the attached PDF. Go ahead and address the email and enter the subject and body text as normal. I'll go ahead and exit out here. Don't need that. All right, so that's how you can email. You could also have an email that is already open, and you might want to just drag and drop that document into the file. We'll go ahead and open up this email, and we'll pretend that we want to forward it on to somebody. Go ahead and do that. And in so doing, you might want to drag that document onto your email, just drag and drop. It basically exports it and attaches it as another document to your email. So another method to download content. All right, I don't want to save my changes on that one. So another excellent way to email the document. You can also print Word, PowerPoint, Excel, or image files from Laserfiche. You actually do have a print option on your toolbar. Go ahead and click on that and choose your printer. I don't actually have a printer here on my desktop to print to, but you would choose your default printer. And then you can choose what format you want to print and what content you want to print. You can choose the number of pages that you also want to print as well. Maybe you want to print page 2 only, and you just want to print the text from that document. Yes, you can print the image, the text, or both. And if you want to, you can click on the Options tab, which will then give you the choice if you want to include those redactions or those highlights on your document. All right. Now, there are other annotation types like sticky notes or text boxes and things like that. I'll show you that in a moment. But those are some different options here available to you when printing. Normally, we don't print anything. Maybe we'll include redactions when we print, but highlights, normally, if they're yellow highlights and you're printing to a black and white printer, they don't look so great. So sometimes we will not include those other annotations. Once you've made your selections, print OK, click OK, and it will print out on your printer that you've selected. Now, on image options, if your document image in Laserfiche had been an original size that is larger than the available paper in your printer, you might want to scale that content to fit. For example, you might have a 11 by 14 original, but you're printing to a printer that only has 8.5 by 11 paper. You could choose to scale it to fit. If not, you can just allow it to print on multiple pages in order for it to fit. All right, so different options there, and if you're curious for more information, click the help button on the pop-up. All right, some great ideas as far as exporting, printing, and emailing. Now, the Laserfiche system's real power is searching, and once you have content in the system, you can search for that content in several different ways. For example, we can search for, using the basic search up here, go ahead and enter a term and hit the search box. At this point, it was going to search for any content in the repository that matches with the text that has the word Laserfiche in that text, or any fields that have the word Laserfiche in the fields. Now you can check additional search criteria, but again, this is going to search the entire repository for folders or documents that match. As you can see, this search doesn't limit you to folders or documents. It's just going to search for any type of entry that matches. Go ahead and click that or hit enter, and that will then search for content. And the content will be displayed, as you can see here, in the split window that we see. Down on the left-hand corner, we can see the search results option here, just below the recycle bin icon on our folder pane. The search results, because we included the search for text, we found documents where that word was found. And for every document, it will tell you where the words occur in the page. So I've selected a document further down, and it tells us that that word Laserfiche appeared on pages 3 times on page 1 and 2 times on page 2. And you can then, if you double click on the context hit, as we see in the bottom half here, it will take you to that page and highlight the document. So if you double click, like I just did, on that context, it will show you that the word Laserfiche appeared. I've set up my options so that my main highlight is in blue and other highlights are in yellow. So as you can see here in our view, we have the word Laserfiche here. By the way, I just zoomed into the document. I'm going to double click and zoom back out. So while in the document viewer, you can click and drag to zoom into content, double click to zoom back out. And as you can see, we've got our word highlighted here, and down below we even find that the Laserfiche word is highlighted as well. All right, now you can add additional annotations from the drop-down. I should point out that we have highlights, redactions, underlines, sticky notes, text boxes, kind of cartoon call-out text. We can apply stamps and even geometric shapes or freehand outlines as well. Now these become layers on top of the original image. They do not affect the original TIFF image, so you can still print out the original image without any of these annotations. All right, so having found the document, you view it. You might want to print it, email it, whatever you're going to do. That will be emailed out. The highlights won't be included in the email, by the way. This is just because it found what you were looking for, and now you could choose to print it, email it, or whatnot. If you do like what you see, you can email the document. You can even customize this toolbar. Just like you could customize your main toolbar, you can customize the toolbar in your document viewer. And you might want to add the mail option. I don't know if that's in here. Maybe it's a task. There it is. mail pages. Maybe we'll add that to our icon there. Click close. So now we can select to email this document out. All right, or you can just right click on the context and say, I want to email this document because this is exactly what I found and I want to do that. All right, email pages and email document are the same thing. You get the same dialog box. All right, so that was a quick search. Now, if you limited your search to just fields that had that and not the text, you might find documents a little bit differently. Your document values or return values might be quite different. And in fact, because we didn't search for text, we don't get the split window because we were looking for documents where the field had the word in it, but not any text, and therefore it doesn't have to display the text. So that's your basic search and some of the options available to you when running the basic search. Now, if you want to be much more specific, you can use the advanced search. You can use the F3 on your keyboard or click on that large magnifying glass up in the top left of the toolbar, and that will launch the not the quick search, but the advanced search box here, as we see on the left-hand pane. And you can customize this pane. You might notice we have a records management search if you have the records management module. If you don't, then you won't see that option. But right here under customized search, you can choose to search by additional criteria. Laserfiche might call this filters. For example, we can search for documents with a particular name. We can search for folders with a particular name. In fact, I'm going to check that box for name, and we might even want to search by metadata, maybe even the document creation date, and we want to search within a particular folder. Now, the common search is in here, but that is actually very similar, in fact, to the quick search. You might notice the search terms and search within are the same 4 options. And most of the time, I actually will remove this, but it's up to you. And then we can search for documents created or modified within a particular date range or presets. If you don't want to use the date search, you can also hit the collapse or minimize option, and that date value will not be used when you hit the search button down below. You might notice for field searching, you can search by fields individually, or more typically, you might search by documents using a particular template. Let's find all documents that have the general template assigned to it. Now, how do we search for just all documents? Down here in the name criteria, we can uncheck folder and just check document. That way, if you leave the entry name blank or put an asterisk in there, that will find all documents with that template that match the current settings. All right, now no date. And then within folder, you can search the entire folder structure and include subfolders, or just look for documents within this particular path. And you can change any path you want. Let's go look for documents in the to auto file folder. Let's add another one within the incoming scans folder, but I don't want to search in the 5/22/2023 folder. So I'm going to add, if I'm including subfolders, I'm going to add a not in and go ahead and exclude that particular folder as well. So you can exclude folders if you are using the include subfolder search, but you don't want to search within certain subfolders, go ahead and add that. So now we'll search 2 folders, excluding 1 subfolder underneath the incoming scans, and we'll go ahead and hit search, and this will return all documents. Your search pane, I'm going to hit the folder pane and show you that you have your search results pane right here, and you can navigate away. You can go back to that and then come back to your search results as well. And if we launch our search pane, we can see here's our search criteria. And you can even in the search pane, if you right click on the columns, you can add the path, for example, to tell you what folder this document actually was living in. This will change the performance of your search. So if you're getting 1,000 documents or entries back in your search, you might not want to use the path because that will cause Laserfiche to calculate the path, and that will slow down the display when trying to do searches. So I don't recommend doing this all the time. You might want to turn it on and then turn it back off. You might notice you can add additional columns. You have choices here. So within Laserfiche, you have all the Laserfiche available columns, and you can even add fields from a template. So for example, from the general template, we might want to, well, in fact, we've already added the different columns from that template. You can see them here in our search. You can see here's the template name and some values in some of those columns. And you can sort by the column values because they're in there as well. If you like what you found, or you like your search and you're going to reuse this search over and over, up at the top you do have a save button. This is going to allow you to save your search and reuse it again and again. This search is for you and you only. It's going to be tied to your login account. So within Laserfiche, this search is for you. Now, an administrator can give a saved search to other users, but an end user cannot give it to somebody else. But you can save your own and then you can reuse them. You can also delete them if you want, or overwrite them with a replace option. All right, so that's your save. And if you were to hit the load button, then you could pull up and use one of the presets that you've of a saved search, which will load the contents of that search and the criteria in the pane, but then you will then want to hit the search button down below at the bottom of the screen in order to run the search. It will not run the search for you automatically here in the Windows client. All right, so that is saving and loading of a saved search, which you might have configured. And this is the advanced search properties. When you're done, you can hit the folder pane and you're back to your results. If you want to clear your results, you can click the Close Search button when right-clicking on the Search Results option there. All right, if we navigate away to our top list, we have our starred entries. We might remove the star here just to clean things up. Sorry, I didn't want to rename. Right-click and choose Remove Star. If we want to clear the search results, you can close the search as well. If you delete documents, you can right-click and hit Delete. That document will be in your recycle bin. And if you want to restore it, you might actually have the Restore option. Now, I did log in as an admin, so I actually get a couple options that most end users may not have. Most end users probably won't have the Purge, which is the permanent deletion of content. Most people will have the Restore, and you can choose to restore that content back to the original location or to a different folder if your security rights allow that. Click OK, and that content will be restored back to its original location, and you can see that listed on the column in the search or within the recycle bin here. Go ahead and do that. And I might want to mention here that you can search in the recycle bin. It is a little bit limited. You'll notice that it can search for field values, entry names, and annotation text, but not actual text. So you can't do a text search in the recycle bin for content that's been deleted into the recycle bin. But you can search by name. You can sort by date deleted, however, or its original location, or who it was deleted by as well. So some neat things that you can do within the recycle bin. All right, so we've covered quite a few topics here. We've learned how to launch and log into Laserfiche, navigated around, did some customizations, and basic navigation actions, looked at the document viewer, learned about the Microsoft Office add-in. We scanned and imported documents and content. We can update content. We learned how to do searching, downloading, printing, and exporting of documents. And that concludes our Laserfiche Windows Client 11 training class. For all of us here at Cities Digital, we want to thank you for your attendance and have a great paperless day.